Hey guys, I'm Phoenix here and welcome to another video on the EU. You see, quite a lot has happened, and whenever I try and do this video, more happens, which is a little bit useful. But, yeah, so a couple of weeks ago, Britain voted to leave the EU. Now, it was a pretty close thing. But after that, we have kind of seen the lies and hypocrisy of the Leave campaign. So, what's been going on? Well, we start off with the petition, of course. So, this petition was started, and it ended up getting 4.1 million signees. And there's been a fair amount of flack from the Leave side on this petition, because they see it as an affront to democracy. They say the people voted to leave. We cannot have a second referendum because the people said so I don't know why the Remain campaign are creating these petitions and signing these petitions to try and get a second referendum. Small problem with that. The Remain campaign didn't make the petition. The Leave campaign did. And then the Remain camp basically signed the petition. Because why not? You see, when it looked like the Remain camp were going to win, the Leave side, William Oliver Healy, made a petition to say that should it be close, then there should be a second referendum to make it to ensure that the people's voice is actually heard, to give people time to rethink their decision and to get, so just to make sure that the side is clear. So yeah, that was a petition that was made by a Leave campaigner and then signed by everyone else. And then when it was shut down by the government yesterday, the day before, not shut, but the government basically said, we're not going to have a second referendum. The Leave camp came out and said, yeah, exactly. The people have voted. Why have you created this petition? Without realising that actually it was the Leave side that created the petition, not the Remain side. But these are the sorts of hypocrisy that we've been seeing from the Leave camp. Because after all, Nigel Farage himself, before the referendum, said that if it was a 52-48 split, then he would campaign tirelessly to get a second referendum for the people. To which he's now resigned his post. He's vanished, ultimately, along with Boris Johnson, who was another advocate to leave. He's gone. We found out that ultimately the Leave campaign have no plan at all, and were trying to get people who were more in the Remain camp to help them create a plan to leave the EU. And in short, basically, the £350 million pounds a week funding amount to go to the NHS was a fabrication. We all knew that, but they've come out and said that it was a fabrication. The immigration, which was another key thing, we can't do a damn thing about immigration. Even if we were to leave the EU and not take in the single market, we would not be closing the borders between Northern Ireland and Ireland, which means that citizens of the EU could go to Ireland, cross into Northern Ireland, and then cross into the UK anyway. So that did nothing. And then you look at things like Turkey and the EU army and all of this sort of thing. And the free market and etc, etc. Ultimately now, if we are to leave the EU, we say to the EU that we want to still be in the single market, we have to do things in exchange. And that sort of thing might very well be freedom of movement. We might even have to join the Schengen zone. These are things that are going to be on the table. So by leaving the EU to give ourselves more power, ultimately we have left ourselves with less power, with no way of actually contesting anything. We will essentially have to do what the EU says in order to be in the single market. But that's what the Leave campaign wanted all along, ultimately. And, to put icing on the cake, as it were, Theresa May has now been made the leader of the UK government. She's an unelected leader by the people, and she could potentially trigger Article 50 and put in measure all of the little things that she wants to do. Like, she doesn't particularly like the Human Rights Act because it prevents her from doing things like the Snoopers Charter. It prevents her from restricting what people can look at online. It prevents her from banning encryption. She is basically very, very anti-free speech, ultimately, and she has a real love of banning people from entering the country. That's what she does, and by voting to leave, because you wanted to get away from unelected civil servants making your laws, you have essentially allowed someone into the Prime Minister's chair who is an unelected leader. So, isn't karma... Yeah. I can't help but snigger at this. I don't really want to say it, but I did tell you so. So, sorry, Leave side. Sorry that you had to do all these now lies and hypocrisy. It happens. So, with that, I will say thank you very much for watching this little video on the EU, and I will see you next time.